Now, it's nothing short of a disgrace. We have seen long queues of desperate people outside the offices of the Social Security Agency after the temporary disability grants were stopped at the end of last year. The impact is one of keeping food off people's tables as they are now unable to access money. Joining me Friday lunchtime is Bridget Masango from the Democratic Alliance. She speaks on social security matters. Good afternoon to you and welcome. Moments ago, News 24 reporting that police in Bellville have sprayed potential grant recipients with water because they were not social distancing. I guess one could say it has come to that and it was almost inevitable.
Yes, Jeremy, thank you so much. Yes, it was not supposed to be like that. It shouldn't have been like that. It could have been avoided. The scenes that News 24 is covering today, following on to the scenes that we saw on Tuesday, could have been avoided had government, first of all, planned for the expiry of the grant, and second of all, had the government extended the temporary disability grants for a further 3 months, seeing that days after the expiry of the grants, it was announced by the president that the level 3 lockdown was returning with all its restrictions, and also because of the second wave having been so much harsher than the first wave. So yes, those incidences, those scenes that unfolded could have been avoided, and the DA has been very vocal in bringing about solutions to say extend for the extra 3 months, plan ahead of this, and then when things change, you can then reinstate the reapplication for temporary disability grants.
It's easy for all of us to sit on the sidelines and criticize, but in response to your suggestion about the extension, it ultimately does come down to money. Government needs 1.2 billion rand to extend the grants through to March. As you're suggesting, I would put to you, Bridget Masango, that the bank account is empty.
I would respond, Jeremy, to that by saying this is one of the grant types that the department through SASSA has extended to the qualifying beneficiaries. And these have been budgeted for. And one would say then, but what about those who would not have qualified? If you look at the report that SASSA issued in July 2020, which was looking at as far back as 2019, January, you would see that this grant type has always paid money that hovers, or the number of people that hovers around these numbers located to this grant type of government. We still are yet to meet with the minister to explain what she means when she says the government does not have this money, because as far as we are concerned, this grant type has been budgeted for. And if you look at the report I'm referring to, you would see that the grants that are referred to as unrecommended, the numbers are very minuscule. You're talking about 20 grants that were not recommended, as opposed to maybe 20,000, depending on which province you are looking at.
All right.
So
Ms. Masango,
it's really a non-issue, and we still are waiting.
That's the budget side of the equation, and I understand what you're saying, and we look forward then to what the Minister has to say in response to your question. On the other hand, the agency is also saying it's doing its best amid staff shortages due to COVID-19 infections. Surely one must have a little bit of sympathy for the plight of the people who are trying at office level to manage the process. They are simply overwhelmed.
Most definitely. I agree totally with that. The situation here, Jeremy, is that it was announced, I believe, in May last year that the grants were being extended. Part of the lockdown regulations and all the announcements that we received were such that, first, to make sure that the virus is contained, but secondly, to allow the government to plan, to allow the government to beef up the capacity in its offices, in its infrastructure. And as far as SASSA is concerned, none of that has happened. It is, I agree totally with you, it puts a huge strain on the staff of SASSA to be working at 50% capacity, but to deal with thousands, hundreds upon thousands of grant applicants and recipients, and to deal with those queries on a daily basis at such at half the capacity that they need. The beefing of capacity should have meant that SASSA looked at different or bigger venues or offices to be able to absorb the numbers that we all knew we would be dealing with 200,000 applicants around once the SASSA grant had lapsed. So it should not have surprised government especially, and it should not have been a situation where we are staring a crisis in the face because of lack of planning and lack of caring for the people that now, with their disabilities, they must be found in the rain like it happened this morning in Mitchell's Plain where we went, because government did not plan properly.